What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on EI Entertainment Studios, back at it with another debate episode. Today's debate episode, we're going to be talking about Shin Biollante versus Legendary Zilla. So here's the plan, folks. We're going to get two of these giant kaijus, and we're going to go into their backstories, characteristics, abilities. We're going to dive deep into these creatures. And once we're done digging into their backstories, we're gonna put them up against each other in a death battle. And I'll go way more into detail once we get there. So, without further ado, let's begin with the backstory of Legendary Zilla, our main culprit. Legendary Zilla originated from an ancient underground human civilization that despises the living creatures on the surface of the planet. Their guardian monster is indeed Legendary Zilla, which comes from a mutated iguana and is preserved Spinosaurus DNA, and then those two were combined and then was mutated together, also by adding ritual prayers to the mix by the ancient civilization to create a guardian of their kingdom. And now the civilization has completely died off, and Legendary Zilla is free to roam the earth with supernatural powers because of the civilization. Now, for the abilities, I'm going to quickly skim over them. We're going to finish off Legendary Zilla, and then before we move on to Shin Biollante, we'll do a deep analysis of every single each ability, so don't worry. But for right now, I'm going to do a quick skim. Ability skim goes as follows for Legendary Zilla. Super Flammable Wind Blast, Sharp Claws, Poison Tail Stabber, Fast Climbing, Supersonic Sprints, Spirit Form, 360 Ball Force Impact. Now, the height of Legendary Zilla is approximately 112 meters tall. His height isn't the biggest thing, but he is very, very long. His length is a staggering 217 meters long. That's long. That's pretty long, folks. Territorial level is none, and aggression level is obviously on high. And biome is all areas of Earth, including extremely hot temperatures due to exposure in the center of the Earth. Because the ancient civilization lived near the center of the Earth, Legendary Zilla was even deeper and was able to pretty much adapt to those hot temperatures, so he could be anywhere he wishes to be. So folks, let's go back to the abilities and let's see what they are. Now, I'm gonna do a very, very quick disclaimer here. If you are a constant watcher of the debate videos, you'll notice that this is not the first time that Shin Biollante, this disclaimer is both for Shin Biollante and Legendary Zilla. Their abilities, for both of them as I'm saying, will be the same name, however, their functionalities might be a bit different. So you might notice some differences in the functionalities of some, not all, but some of the abilities for either or and both for these creatures here. And the reason for that is to fit the opponent they're battling. It makes it more interesting. I try to make it more difficult for each every time. So, let's do a deep analysis of Legendary Zilla's abilities. First we have the Super Flammable Wind Blast. So this specific ability I noticed, and I took this into consideration when watching the film of Zilla, which is basically a Godzilla, but all of us have now agreed that he's not Godzilla, he is Zilla. And when I was watching that film, I noticed that his breath is very flammable, and when that was mixed with the tanks, it created a huge blast. And so I came up with a very interesting ability that any time that there are windy gusts around him, and if he uses his breath, he can turn those wind gusts into pure hot fire that burns everything in its path. And that is gonna have a lot of damage, not for only the opponent, but also to humanity as well. Next we have Sharp Claws. Not a very interesting ability, but it is an ability that we have to address, that Legendary Zilla actually has very, very sharp claws and can very easily dig into the flesh of the opponent. Next we have the Poison Tail Stabber. This is a good one. So at the tip of Legendary Zilla's tail, you'll notice that there's a very, very sharp tail, or a very sharp edge of the tail. Either works, but basically what it does is whenever Legendary Zilla stabs the opponent, it releases some toxins that actually make it unable to move the muscles. Basically paralyzes the opponent completely for about 40 to 50 seconds. So it's not a very powerful ability as in length, but for 40 seconds, Legendary Zilla could do a heck of a load of damage to the opponent. Okay. Next we have Fast Climbing. Of course, Legendary Zilla can climb just like King Kong could, very, very fast. And then we have the Supersonic Sprints. Legendary Zilla is very quick and can sprint at supersonic speeds. Now this next one, what I'm talking about, is a very, very interesting ability. Something called the Spirit Form. So let me explain this one. It's not really him turning into a spirit, but the reason why it's called a Spirit Form is this. This kind of connects to the last ability. So we all agreed on the supersonic sprints, that he can run at super fast speeds, okay? Because of that ability, because of him being so super fast, he can actually run in jagged patterns left and right, and can do it so fast that he can actually do it quicker than time itself. And therefore, when he's on the left side, time is behind him, and the opponent is going to see him on the right side, which is technically his not real form, his spirit form. But his real form, he's actually on the left side because he's going so fast, faster than time itself. That's why this is called Spirit Form, and he can trick his opponents into thinking he's somewhere else versus where he's another place because he's above time of how fast he is. You could say this is even faster than Supersonic when he does this specific ability, which is incredible, incredible. And finally we have the 360 ball force impact. I'm gonna give a small information about Shin Biollante here. This ability occurs when I go over Shin Biollante as well. But for Legendary Zilla, this 360 ball force impact is very interesting. Whenever the opponent is using any type of ability that can be reflected, Legendary Zilla will actually go in circles, again in supersonic speed, so fast, he's going so fast, that the ability just hits and mirrors back at the opponents. And that's what that exactly is. And you'll notice this same ability, or similar ability, in Shin Biollante as well. So this is going to be a hectic battle. Alright folks, this will sum up Legendary Zilla. Let's go ahead and dive deep into Shin Biollante. So, Shin Biollante came into existence with a coagulant that was sprayed into Shin Godzilla's mouth. Right before he froze, one of the small humanoids was able to fall off the tail before all of them froze. From a long fall, the humanoid was bleeding and looked for a place to rest, and happened to come across a field of roses, and thought that they could be food. The humanoid started eating all of the roses, and his DNA mixed with all of the roses he had devoured, including the blood he spilled on the ones he didn't eat. The rose came alive and decapitated the humanoid, very gruesome, and finally, due to that, formed what we know today as Shin Biollante. The height of Shin Biollante is approximately 252 meters tall. Humongous bastard. Abilities: Quick Skim, not explanation yet, same procedure. Spiked Atomic Laser, 10,000 Tentacles, Tentacle Poison Laser, Regeneration, Instant Adaptation, False Heart Trap. Territorial level is low, Aggression level is low, and Biome is unlimited. Okay. Let's go back, and by the way, I will explain the Biome, why it's unlimited in the abilities, where we're gonna go do a deep analysis actually right now. Spiked Atomic Laser. Beautiful, beautiful ability, probably one of the strongest abilities she has. So, we all know how Shin Godzilla is, because Shin Biollante is from the DNA of Shin Godzilla. So, Shin Godzilla can shoot spiked, well, not the spiked atomic lasers, but lasers from the back of his dorsal plates. Now, in the case of Shin Biollante, it's the same ability because of the same DNA. But the only difference is, the only difference is this. You know how roses have these sharp edges on them? And when you touch it, it can rip your skin. Imagine that on a giant rose. Multiply that small, sharp things on the rose by 5,000 times, give or take. Humongous, right? Imagine those sharp edges included in the laser. So not only is the laser ripping flesh because of the radiation and the heat and the blast, but those rugged edges, right, are also in there ripping flesh. That's gonna do a heck of a load of damage. Okay. Next we have 10,000 Tentacles. A normal Biollante usually has 4 tentacles. Shin Biollante has 10 damn thousand of them. That's a lot of tentacles. And trust me, when I say a lot, that's a lot of tentacles. Kinda reminds me of Squidward tentacles. Anyways, we're gonna act like I never said that. Now, Tentacle Poison Laser. Interesting. Those 10,000 tentacles don't end there. Each of those 10,000 tentacles actually have an ability, because they all have their own mouth and their own teeth, as you know, and they can shoot a poison laser. It's a laser, literally a laser that has poison. And what this does is it actually numbs the opponent, and they can't feel pain. And you might think that, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like it's like freezing or something. Actually, no, it's very powerful, because if you don't know when you're feeling pain, you don't know when to go on defensive mode and to back off. For all we know, your opponent could be ripping into your stomach and you won't even feel a thing. And whether you know it or not, you're dead because, well, your stomach is open and all your intestines are falling out. And you're dying because of overbleeding. That's how important this is and dangerous it is. Okay, next we have regeneration. She can regenerate pretty quickly with her health. Very simple. No explanation needed after that. Instant adaptation. Quick explanation from Shin Godzilla's film, so it makes sense. Shin Godzilla can evolve and adapt to situations. We saw that in the film. From Form 1, well, actually we didn't see Form 1, but we know he had Form 1 to Form 2 to Form 3 to Form 4. He went from Form 2 to Form 3 because he needed legs. He needed stronger legs, actually, to support his weight and to walk on the ground. And he quickly evolved. What would take millions of years, he did it in mere seconds. And then at the end of the film, he also likes to recreate what he sees. He saw a lot of humans. So what did he do? His evolutionary abilities tried to recreate humans in his own image. That's why that DNA carries over to Shin Biollante with the instant adaptation. And finally, remember when I said that Legendary Zilla would have an ability that's very similar to Shin Biollante? Well, here it is. The big finale for this one. The False Heart Trap. Now, we all know, or if you've ever seen Godzilla vs. Biollante, by the way, a very gruesome, bloody film, but if you've ever seen Godzilla vs. Biollante, and I absolutely love it for that, but if you've ever seen Godzilla vs. Biollante, you'll notice the way Godzilla kills Biollante is by shooting the atomic breath at the heart and just explodes, just blood and gore, blah, all over the place, right? So, in this case, this is more adapted and evolved, obviously. So, that heart place is still there, and it still looks like the same heart, but however, the heart in Shin Biollante is actually right near the brain in the head, and that is a false heart trap, where the opponent is going to think it's the heart, and they're going to attack that, and what it is actually a mirror, and it just reflects back any ability that the opponent shoots at it, or hits at it. And folks, that is it. We're done with explaining both of these kaijus. Now it's time for the best thing of all, the death battle. Oh yes, it's time for that, and I cannot wait. So, here's the rules and the plan, folks. We're gonna go close range and far range. The reason why I do far range is this. It's a very good way to test the opponent's abilities by limiting them from some of their own abilities, and we're trying to see if we limit some of their abilities, can they still win a battle? It's a very good technique, and I love it. So we're going to start with that one first. So here's the rules for this one. 700 meters apart, they cannot at any time come closer than 700 meters. So, let's see what abilities Legendary Zilla can and cannot use at terms of 700 meters. So, Super Flammable Wind Blast. Unfortunately, this does not travel that far. It will not make this criteria of 700 meters, so he cannot use this. Sharp Claws? No. Remember, cannot touch the opponent. Too far? No. Poison Tail Stabber? Sorry, no. Fast Climbing? Well, you can do that for defensive around where you are, but he can't come close to the opponent, so defensive, yes. Offensive? Hell no. Supersonic Sprints? He can sprint all he wants around, just cannot come close to the opponent. So, you know, we could say defensive, yes. Offensive, no. Spirit Form, same shit. Offensive, no. Defensive, yes. And 360 Ball Force Impact, yes. That one will work. That one will work. Only if he's doing the fast 360 turning, though. That's the difference between this and Shin Biollante. With Shin Biollante, it's always activated. Legendary Zilla actually has to turn in circles for this to work. So he actually has to do something, versus Shin Biollante doesn't have to do anything for it to work. So basically, in terms of the battle, Legendary Zilla is in a big shithole right now, because he literally has no offensive abilities for far range. The only thing he has, he's kind of hoping on to kind of get Shin Biollante somewhere, is a 360 Ball Force Impact. But we'll get there. Let's not go ahead of ourselves. Let's see what abilities Shin Biollante can and cannot use in terms of far range. Okay. Spiked Atomic Laser. Of course, the laser's meant to go far distances. She can use it. 10,000 Tentacles, well, Tentacles can stay there all they want. They can't come closer to Legendary Zilla, so no. Tentacle Poison Laser, unfortunately, she cannot use them because the lasers from the tentacles don't go that far. Regeneration, sure. Instant Adaptation, sure. False Heart Trap, unfortunately, it's not as powerful as Legendary Zilla's. Now, so both have pros and cons, right? Shin Biollante's False Heart Trap is always active, but it's not as long range. Legendary Zilla is not always active. He has to work for it, but is very long range. Okay, so let's begin this battle. From a far range, I already see Shin Biollante getting in that first hit with the spiked atomic laser. And, you know, Legendary Zilla is not stupid either. But, obviously it's going to get him off guard this first time. And the spiked atomic laser is going to hit Legendary Zilla. The laser itself is definitely going to cut some flesh. But the big, sharp edges from the giant rose parts is really what's gonna affect this battle, and it's really going to rip up the flesh of Legendary Zilla. He's gonna take a lot of battle damage from this. His stomach, his face, some part of his eye might get all messed up because of the sharp edges cutting into his flesh and making him bleed all over the place. So what's gonna happen is Legendary Zilla is gonna get forced into just sprinting all over the place and going back and forth, trying to evade the spiked atomic laser. Now, I want to make this clear. It's not an easy thing to evade this, because remember, in the movie for Shin Godzilla, it was all over the back. For Shin Biollante, it's all over the body. So basically in 360 degrees of body length and width, there's lasers coming out from almost every inch of the body from everywhere. So it's a massive, I was gonna say a very interesting word, I'm gonna skip on that, but it's gonna be a big something fest. We all know that what that word is. So it's gonna be interesting, and it's gonna be very difficult for Legendary Zilla to evade this, actually, to be honest. And I don't think he's gonna evade it at all. I don't care how fast he's going, these lasers are everywhere, and they're gonna catch him. 1 second or the other. They're gonna catch him. And when they catch him, they're gonna fucking kill him. And therefore, I believe in far range, Legendary Zilla is a no-no. And Shin Biollante will be our unofficial winner for 1-0 in terms of far range. So let's go to close range, where things are going to be a little bit more different. Both of these kaijus can use all of their abilities face to face. This is interesting. I'm very excited for this. So let's take this into consideration. Let's not take this lightly. Shin Biollante is a insane 252 meters tall. Stupid big. Legendary Zilla, not that much on height, but is 217 meters long. Still not as big as Shin Biollante, but he's pretty long. Shin Biollante is going to try to get those tentacles wrapped around Legendary Zilla. And I'm going to say this, Shin Biollante is going to miserably fail at this. Legendary Zilla is just way too fast. It's not going to happen. I don't care how many tentacles she has, he is way too fast. Supersonic speed, just running all over the place, including that he can climb very fast as well. He's just going to be sprinting all over the place, and Shin Biollante is going to be just bedazzled and is going to get all confused because he is so fast. Now, what's going to happen? He's going to run super fast, claw Shin Biollante. Run super fast, claw Shin Biollante. And they're going to keep on abusing that ability, because we know that Legendary Zilla actually has a very sharp claw. Or claws in this case. Many claws, right? It's going to be a lot of flesh ripping in here. Imagine running claw, and by the time Shin Biollante turns to get you, he got him again. Now, with that being said, at one point, I believe that Legendary Zilla is easily gonna mistake him the false heart trap for the heart of Shin Biollante, and there's gonna be some wins, whether you like it or not, and he's gonna use that atomic fire, or that flammable breath of his, on Shin Biollante, and it's definitely gonna get him, because it's gonna hit the heart, and it's gonna come, well, the false heart, and it's gonna come right back at him, and it's gonna get him right there. And that's where Shin Biollante is gonna start shining. But remember, he's still very agile, so that by the time that Shin Biollante runs forward to grab Legendary Zilla and tear him to pieces, he's gonna go into his spirit form, which we all talked about is him going so fast, faster than time itself. He's gonna be on the right side, where Shin Biollante thinks he's on the left side. And what's gonna happen is he's gonna stab really deeply in Shin Biollante with his poison tail stabber, and that is gonna paralyze her for 30 seconds. And there is when she gets destroyed. Because Legendary Zilla is gonna get the head and just chop it right off with those super sharp claws. And making this debate battle at 1-1. So, this means you have to go to overtime. There has to be a winner. If you ever played FIFA, if you play FIFA Ultimate Team, there's never ties. So think of it like that. So, overtime, this is pure abilities. This is me going over each ability really quickly or on both opponents and seeing who has the better abilities and therefore is the winner. So let's go over the abilities of Legendary Zilla first. We have the super flammable Wind Blast, Sharp Claws, Poison Tailed Stabber, Fast Climbing, Super Sonic Speeds, Spirit Form, and 360 Ball Impact. Now this is a very good roster of abilities. Oh yeah. Now, abilities for Shin Biollante. Spiked Atomic Laser, 10,000 Tentacles, Tentacle Poison Laser, Regeneration, Instant Adaptation, False Heart Trap. So, out of these two, personally, I'm gonna have to go with Legendary Zilla because of the supersonic speeds and the spirit form. I really liked it, including that he could basically paralyze opponents for a few seconds, and that's good enough for a kill shot. I'm gonna have to go with Legendary Zilla with 2-1 because of overtime. Obviously, it's just my opinion. You can debate me in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I appreciate it so much, and as always, have a great day.